So there's three major indicators that astrologers start with, and that is the sun, moon, and the rising. Because where was the sun when you were born? So you're a Capricorn. Where was the moon? It was in Aries. So I know that you're emotionally, let's go. We can't figure out why everybody's sitting still. We're like, get up, get up. That's your emotional nature. It's fire. So you get supercharged. And then your rising sign, which is called the ascendant, because you're ascending into it, and because you want to go towards your soul. And yours is Sag, which makes you super funny and super blunt and fire again. So you're double fire. So you're not a normal Capricorn by any means. You're way too excited. You're way too optimistic. You know, the kid, they say, Ashley, you do slow down. Would you calm? You're like, no.
Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the quantum coaching certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this. Ooh, do I have a treat for you guys today? I have an amazing guest, someone that I've never had on the show before, a topic we've never talked about before. So sit back, relax, and buckle up because it's going to be a good episode. I have Debra Silverman on, and she's everything. She's part astrologer, she's part psychotherapist, psychologist, part comedian. She's super real, and she helps people turn to their own inner observer to see things that they say and do in a totally objective way. And she has a beautiful private practice. She's really, really well known on Instagram and YouTube. And she has just such a beautiful energy about her. And we're going to dive deep into some astrology today. So I'm super excited. Debra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so excited to have you. So, okay. Since you're all the things, what do you feel like? How long have you been doing astrology for? I'm just curious.
Before you were born. It's embarrassing. Don't ask that question.
Oh my God. Okay. So let's just say Debra knows her stuff.
It's been 45 years. Yeah. I started very young, and I was obsessed with psychology since I was a child, because I had such a screwed up family. So I was constantly trying to figure out what is wrong with them. And then how do I understand them and not make them, not judge them. And so astrology gave me the tools to be able to look at that. I had like a Woody Allen family where they wouldn't have changed any of the outfits, little Jewish people that were all talking at the same time really loud, and they never listened. So I had to like stop time and go, can I just understand these characters? And I did get really compassionate. It took years. It's funny because Mother's Day is coming up, and I just wrote a post about how I never really understood my mom until I got her chart done. And then because for example, my dad had no air in his chart and he never talked. And my brothers would drive them crazy. And when I learned astrology, I was like, well, of course he doesn't talk. He's not a social character. His chart is all water. He's nonverbal. And my mother, on the other hand, was so unorganized, and she was so always late, and she was Pisces rising. When I understood, I was like, well, she didn't have a clock. Like, she doesn't work on that. So all those differences that are so peculiar, I had a map or like a formula to understand, and it changed everything.
Wow. Honestly, as you're describing your family, I'm like, that sounds like my Jewish family.
And then especially with children, one of my greatest passions has been to work. I had a column for many years called Thank Heaven for Little Stars. And it was all about parenting so that you could let your kid match their nature. Yeah, because you can't tell people to be different to who they are, but we try, especially as parents. We all think, if I'm cold, I give all the kids blankets. Well, they weren't cold, but I couldn't help it because I'm giving them what I wanted. So when you learn astrology, you're like, no, you don't give that kid invitations to go to a party. They want to hide in their room, or you don't tell that kid they're staying home. That kid's going to socialize with everyone. So you learn the uniqueness and then you parent that way. And wow.
Wow. Oh my God. I'm so excited to learn how to parent that way. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, you particularly, because your chart, you are such a unique character. Like you're so blunt and you're so honest and you just can't help it. Like you just, bleh. So if the parent was mad, they would be like, Ashley, and you'd be like, I can't, I just have to say what I'm like, please don't tell me not to say that.
It's
Busted.
so true.
Did I
Busted. No, I think I would describe myself as that. I'm very assertive. Very assertive.
Oh my God, your chart is so male. You could definitely win in any game you want. Your little competitive edge would be like, woof.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we can go into that assertiveness stuff later, but it's so interesting what you were saying about having blueprints for people in your life. And I mean, I'm sure if you're listening right now, you're like, oh, I could use that. I think it is important to understand other people's charts and signs. And it's not just like, I would love for you to break this. Like, it's not just your sign. It's so much more than your sign. That much I know about astrology, right?
That's so cute. So there's three major indicators that astrologers start with, and that is the sun, moon, and the rising. Because where was the sun when you were born? So you're a Capricorn. Where was the moon? It was in Aries. So I know that you're emotionally, the moon in Aries, which I have too, we're like, let's go. We can't figure out why everybody's sitting still. We're like, get up, get up. That's your emotional nature. It's fire. So you get supercharged. And then your rising sign, which is called the ascendant, because you're ascending into it. And there's nowhere else in astrology, but in our system, the esoteric system, that the ascendant is the most important, because you want to go towards your soul. And yours is Sag, which makes you super funny and super blunt and fire again. So you're double fire. So you're not a normal Capricorn by any means. You're way too excited. You're way too optimistic. Capricorns are grumpy.
Really?
Yes. They're very serious. That's not the right word. They take life they can't do a half-assed job, and they can't understand people that do half-assed jobs. They're like,
I resonate with that. I do resonate with that. I do.
That's so cute. That's your Capricorn. But that moon in Aries and Sag rising, you're athletic and you're honest and you can't hold things in. And that's the soul. The rising sign is the soul, fire, your Sag. And that's mostly who you are. It's really what you came to be. This life is blunt, truth teller, disruptive.
Yeah.
You know, the kid, they say, Ashley, you just slow down. Would you calm? You're like, no. I
feel like my disruptiveness came even late, like as I got more comfortable with who I am, I feel like.
Yeah, because Capricorns are very conservative. I mean, that's the funny part about your chart. You have a conservative nature with a wild child right behind it.
Interesting. What's yours? Like, what's your sun, moon, rising? Is that
yes, good one. Yes. So I'm double air. You're double fire. So you're like very enthusiastic and inspirational. I'm double air, and air is like the airheads in the world, like la 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 la. Like, you know, I talk on podcasts. How many podcasts have I done in my life?
Oh my God.
And now I'm starting one. I'm just starting one called the I Don't Believe in Astrology podcast. So I'm interviewing all these people, scientists especially, who don't believe in it. And I have their chart in front of me and they're like, look just like you look right now. Their mouths are dropped open. They're like, I don't believe in this. And why are you talking straight to me? And I'm like, because I can see your chart. I'm in your underwear drawer, Charlie Brown. So stop being so impressed.
What a beautiful idea. I love that idea. That's so...
There's so many skeptics. There's people that I understand why they're skeptics. I have a lot of compassion for intellectual personality because I'm double air, and air is the intellect. But I also, like you, have moon in Aries. So I get super excited.
Yeah. That's so cool. So wait, we're frozen. There we go. So I'm curious about just a random question about the moon. I am so drawn to the moon. Like, just like whenever I'm around the moon, like, and it's out and it's big, I'm just like, like I need to go to the beach. I need to be with the moon. Like I need to sit with it. Is that anything to do with astrology, or that's just like being human?
No, I'm going to tell you exactly why. Oh, this is so interesting. Once a month next to the moon, there's a super bright star. Like everyone will stop and go, what is that? And it's Jupiter, because Jupiter is 100 times the size of Earth. So it's the biggest planet in our galaxy. When you were born, the moon and Jupiter were standing right next to each other, literally, like in the same spot. So you have an excessive moon energy because Jupiter, it's like secret sauce. Jupiter's, because it's such a big planet, it makes everything expand. It's kind of like MSGs, how I describe, like everything tastes better, everything gets bigger. So your moon was standing right next to MSG, like the planet. So you have the super appreciation for like everything honest, blunt, honest. Like you get so excited when the emotional body, when someone's being real, you're like, yeah.
It's so true. Wow. Thank you for explaining that. That's awesome.
You were born with Jupiter on the moon. It only happens once a month for a few hours, for like a day.
Wow. That's so interesting. So cool. Okay. So what are some things that people that might be brand new to astrology should know about their chart, or what should they know about their chart that you think is like the most important thing?
So the first thing is I break it down into the elements. I've written a book called The Missing Element. And in the book, it doesn't have any astrology in it. In the book, you turn to, I think it's page 40, and there's a test, very simple. I'm sorry, I'm just going to clear my throat.
We'll edit it out.
There's a test where you can identify what your missing element is. And then once you know your missing element, you go in the book and you read that chapter. So for example, water, there's 4 elements. Water are the sensitives in the world. They cry at the commercials. They feel super sad. They're moody. They don't want to be around people. They'd rather stay at home with the dog, with the cat, with the kid, and not have anyone come to their house except the ones they like. So they're introverted. They're nonverbal. They're incredibly creative. They're great cooks. They're great housekeepers, but they don't really have a high appetite for socializing. So that's water. Think of tears, water. Second category is air, which is what I am. Like they talk all, my friend says, they talk all day, they talk about nothing. Like they just keep on talking, and they're so interested and they're so curious. They're on social media and they've got people, they're very different than water. They've got people everywhere and they're always trying to make new friends, and they talk to the wall or the neighbor or the postman. Like you're like, can we go now? So they have that really strong social appetite for understanding, learning, studying, collecting, connecting, networking, telephones. Are just like, and if you're strong air, you're a great talker. Third category is earth. This is Capricorn, of course. These are the grounded people who are responsible and they're on time and they like spreadsheets and they're workaholics and they really get off on making money and spending money and buying the most expensive thing. And they have very high taste buds for the practical world. And so we rely on them, but they can have a little bit of a heavy load because they're always the one cleaning up and they're always the one driving and they're always the one doing the finances. So they feel burdened, but they're the best to have around because they get shit done. We call them the badass manifestors. Okay.
Yes.
And then the last category is fire. And this is where people get super excited and they're all jacked up and they're loud and they're athletic and they're blunt and they jump up and down for no reason. And there's no volume now. They talk louder and they're super impulsive. And you're like, where is the off button? So that's the fire people. We all know them. They walk in the room, you're like, oh God, here they come. So that's obviously very different than the water personality who's like, I don't want to go to the party. The fire person's like, don't come. You're so boring. They like say things. So all 4 elements are required in this life. You cannot live without water, can't live without air, can't live without food, earth, and you can't live without your heartbeat, the fire, the sun. So all of these are required, but there's a predominant in every personality type. And when you read the book, The Missing Element, you very quickly identify with, oh my God, it's so true. I have no fire. I never want to jump up and down and get athletic. Or, oh my God, I'm always working out. I have so much fire and I have such an enthusiastic personality. So you learn one about yourself and you become compassionate. The subtitle of the book is Inspiring Compassion for the Human Condition. Because once you realize how, you're nicer to people. And then 2, you realize about your husband and your wife and your kids, like, wow, like I said about my dad having no air, like he didn't talk. Well, I knew how to talk to him. It was nonverbal. If you sat quietly long enough, he'd open up, but you cannot ask him a million questions. So everyone's got these quirky personalities, the elements are the first step as a beginner would have it. And I'm the only school that teaches that. When we have a school where people learn to be astrologers, and it's a 3-part course, like level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 1 is 6 weeks long. And the very first class of the very first class, is the elements, like just figuring out your missing element. Because once you insert the missing element, life gets a lot more balanced. So
is it a missing element that is missing from your chart, or it's missing
yes, from your
you?
chart. Well, the
Okay.
thing, yeah, but you're a good question. It doesn't necessarily mean like my best friend has no earth in her chart and she owns a lumber yard. So it doesn't mean like she has no practicality. She's so earthy, God said, don't give her anymore. So so it doesn't mean you don't have it, but it does suggest, based on, like in your chart, you have only one planet in air. So chit chat and diddle dat and talking and being dippy and light, you're like, I don't like those people, because you don't have any air. When they start talking about things and they don't follow through, or when they have ideas and they don't actively do them, you're like, can you just stop talking?
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true for me. Oh my
Because you have no air in your chart. So superficial, and people with lots of air, they just could talk about anything all day. You're like, I'm going to go now and get something done.
I'm going to go be productive.
Exactly. At the Capricorn.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. So, yeah. So if someone is curious about that, definitely get the book, because then you'll be able to take I love the subtitle of the book so much. Oh
Oh,
my
thank
gosh.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So powerful. Okay. So why do you think learning astrology like is the number one thing for people to learn about themselves? Like, do you believe that?
I totally believe that. Like, I
Yeah.
always feel like I'm a used car salesman or something, because I'm always wanting to sell. I'm like, you guys, everybody stop. You can't go through this life without understanding your nature and your husband's or your what. Like, you're going to end up not accepting the people that you love the most because you have an agenda. Like, that's just mean.
Yeah.
And my kids have thanked me, like really thanked me, and said, like, I have one son who's a double fire and he has a temper. So when he was in 7th grade, he had the bully in the school. He came home and he was like, I'm in trouble. I was like, what happened? He goes, well, 6 teachers were sitting in a circle and I all got shit because I hit the bully. I was like, of course you hit the bully. You're a double Aries. I expected you to be the one kid in the class that couldn't control it. Good for you. He was like, good for me? I was like, yeah, because if you didn't use your fire to stand up for the underdog, I would wonder who you were. So I'll talk to the teachers.
I'll talk to the teachers and I'll bring them your astrology chart. Okay. What if our world was really like that? That would be so cool.
I did work in a school back years ago with all the teachers. It was a private school, and every single teacher, I worked with every single kid in the class. And I said, do not put Ashley next to Debra. They are going to talk all day. Do not let them. So I actually helped the whole school. I called it the Harry Potter classroom, because I taught the kids the elements. I had the kids sitting in their elements. And I said, look, these kids are the ones that are going to cry at a touch of a hat. These are the kids that want recess, the fire kids all day, the water kids crying, the earth kids sharpening their pencil, can't wait to get the like computer. And then the fire kids are like, recess.
That was me. All I cared about was recess.
I telling you why, because you're double fire.
So cool. It's so validating, right? When you learn about yourself in this way.
That's why that's the answer to your question. If I could have my way, I mean, it's an addiction. I feel like I give everybody bags of potato chips and they can't stop the potato chips, because once you get into this and you start realizing, like, it's so interesting. It's fascinating.
It really is. It really is. Okay. I'm curious, how hard is it to learn?
See, I teach it just the way I talk. I teach it in bite-sized bits. So you take a 6-week class. It starts in September and January. Only twice is the school open. And we have hundreds and hundreds of students that come. And what happens is you study one piece at a time. So you start with the elements. I've given you a taste of that. Then the sun, moon, and rising. You get and by the time you're done with the 6 weeks, it always shocks everyone. They're like, how did you do that? I made it so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 10 people in the room. And there's a mentor who I've trained who's looked at your chart before you got there. So they're custom designing the class just for your chart, and you're studying your chart. So it makes it super interesting because, of course, we all have egos. Oh, let's see. Raise your hand if you have an ego. Oh, look, everyone's raising their hand. Yes. So that's what we teach the first class, simply based on you studying you. The second level is, how do you do a reading? So anyone who's a coaches, I saw that you're a coach. This is a wonderful addition, because when the client comes to you and they're missing an element and they don't know how to market themselves because they don't have fire, they don't have enthusiasm, you say, excuse me, you need to go learn about your fire, because you can't be successful if you're missing an element.
Mm. Interesting. So when you learn what's missing in your elements, you're not saying like lean into the ones that are there. You're saying cultivate the one that's missing.
Bingo.
Okay. Interesting.
Which is not easy, but it's like, it makes all the difference in the world when you realize that you can grow anything, you can learn anything, but if you get stuck in your comfort zone, you will be stuck in your comfort zone.
You probably get this question a lot. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's your take on astrology versus human design? Do you think they both have a place? Do you
Oh, human design is all based on astrology. Did you not know
right?
that?
Yes, I do.
It was a second. It's like it's the younger child. The oldest science on earth is astrology. And the reason why it's easier to do human design, because the system, astrology at its worst is super complicated. I am like a fourth grade teacher. I teach it fourth grade, sixth grade, eighth grade. By the time you finish level 3, you've just graduated and you're in college and you could do a reading. People come to my school and they literally learn how to make 100,000 to 200,000 a year because they become really good and it's happened astrologers. And I've had so many women. There's 50 women in my company.
Wow.
And 30 of them are mentors. They just teach.
That's awesome. That's so cool. It's beautiful what you've created.
It's a dream. It's a dream.
Was it in your chart?
Yeah, it was definitely in my chart. I started, as you know, 125 years ago when I was only little, and I've never gotten bored.
That's so key. That's so key.
It's every single chart. I'm like, wow, that's crazy, because it works every time.
Yeah, it does. It does. Wow, it's so powerful. I love that. So in a chart, what can someone discover about themselves? Someone who maybe really has no idea, like what is something that they can discover about themselves besides these elements? Like what is there? What does it tell you? Does it tell you you're going to be rich? Does it tell you you're going to be famous? Does it tell you you're going to have kids, like be married? Like, what does it tell you?
You named it. It was so good. One of there's someone that I know who's a very famous surfer in Hawaii. I live in Hawaii half the time, and she's like a world famous surf girl. And when I met her mom is one of my dearest friends. When she was like, I want to say like 10, I looked at her chart and said to her mom, be prepared. This girl's going to be famous. And sure enough, she's the #1 surf girl in Hawaii. So you can definitely see fame. You can definitely see babies. Like your chart has a very fertile Myrtle. You are fertile Myrtle, just in case you're wondering. Remember I said Jupiter, the big fat planet that's 100 times the size of Earth? It's sitting on your moon. It's in the house of children. So be careful, because honestly, you could have a lot of kids if you weren't careful.
Really? Because it's taken us a long time to get pregnant.
Now watch what happens after, because once the pregnancy,
IVF.
well, I'm going to just let you know that after this, you've got, and not only that, but you have such a genuine motherly nature about fun. Like you're going to be the funnest. Everything has to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you are. You're like, are we having fun yet? Let's do this. Like, just bring Ashley with you and you can turn the house on fire.
Thanks. I do. I love fun. I'm all about fun.
Really? Is that a surprise to anyone listening? No.
No, especially if you know me. Okay. So if someone wants to, okay. So what's the difference between understanding yourself in your chart, like your birth chart, right? You have your birth chart that describes, and tell me if I'm wrong, describes like your personality. It describes about your life,
your destiny. It describes your purpose. Okay. It describes your life lessons. Mm-hmm. It describes the broken records in your head. Like I can tell you right now, one of your challenges in this life, your mind, is that you're very idealistic to a fault. I'm sure you had to learn this lesson, but you'd be like, I think this person, you're very idealistic. So your mind makes up a story. You make up stories. Like you're like really, you go, oh, it's going to be the best thing ever. And then it falls flat because that person wasn't what you thought. And then you're so disappointed because you're like, how did I miss that? And as the years have gone by, your mind has had to come into reality. Like, don't make things up. You know
Yes.
that about yourself?
Yeah. I can call myself out when I'm like in a story. I'm like, I'm just making up a story right now.
I
Like,
call
like you said in your bio, like being the observer, right? Stepping more into that.
that is everything I teach. You have what I call, you're going to laugh. You went to a school called MSU, making shit up. So you have a high degree in making shit up. You have a really dangerous part of your chart is that your imagination is so rich that you make up stories. And now as the years have gone by, you're like, reality check. That was just my imagination. That's, you can just say, I'm doing MSU right now. I'm making shit up. Don't worry about me. I'll come back soon.
MSU. I like that. Yeah. I think one time, and I don't know if it was a palm reader or an astrologer. I think it was a palm reader. She said, like, some of the greatest disappointments that ever happened in your life are you made up.
That's so funny. It's in your chart that you have to be very careful. So that's an example. You can look at a chart and discover, and that's the second class. What is the mindset that comes with this personality type? So you are very ambitious. For example, your Mercury is in Capricorn. So your mind, Mercury, is in Capricorn, but it's standing right next to the planet of imagination.
Wow.
So on one hand, you can vision things.
Right. I'm a visionary for sure.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going to connect that. Cool. That's super cool. Wow. Okay. So what else should someone know about their astrology? Okay.
Well,
So
biggest thing is timing. Like this is when you could get pregnant. This is when you're going to get married. This is when you're going to buy a house, and it's real. And it's crazy how accurate. Now, I, as you know, I'm a psychotherapist, so I don't spend a lot of my time like talking about timing in a chart. And by the way, I haven't done readings in 4 or 5 years, but I have 20 women that I have trained vigorously for years who are excellent. And when people call me or they send an email, they don't call anymore. They send an email and say, would you match make me? And then I break into this song. Ready? Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match, find me a find, catch me a catch. And I put your chart up with the 20 different astrologers and I go, she is perfect for her. And so I do matchmaking.
that's so cool. I love that.
It's like one of my favorite parts one of my favorite parts of my job is and then people write me and go, that was crazy. I loved her so much. I'm like, I fixed you up.
I fixed you up. That's amazing. So question about, okay, once someone understands their birth chart, their natal chart, how often would you suggest someone getting an astrology reading? Like, is it possible to read like for where you are right now in your life and like what the next 6 to 8 months or 12 months looks like in someone's life? Is that?
Yes, it's very real. Yes. I tend to not be so predictive, but we do have people on our team that specifically work with those transits and describe what's the next 6 months are. So yes, I'm much more psychological. I like to answer the question, what are you doing on this planet? And how do I help you fall in love with you? Like, what can I do to help you stop the mean internal dialogue? Because people say the meanest things. It took me years. For example, I have a lot of fire like you do. And when I was younger, I was self-conscious about it. Like, I didn't want to take over. I didn't want to be too much. I didn't want to be the one because I'm so sensitive to other people. And then as the years went by, I was like, wait a minute, I have this much fire and I'm toning it down. And so you learn, like, that's what happened to you. Like, wait.
With that.
Exactly. Yeah, you have exactly the same thing. Goody to start with. And as the years went by, you were like, screw that.
Yeah. Yeah, I deeply resonate with that. I think someone did once tell me like my success is dependent on my willingness to allow myself to be seen.
Bingo. That's fire. So
Yeah.
your rising sign's fire and your moon is fire, and I'm wearing red. And so because I have a lot of fire.
Red.
Yeah, well, then I have, it's much fire. I think you have more fire than me, actually. So it means that you must be seen. Because what happens when we see a fire? We walk in the room. The first thing we all do is we stand next to it. We're like, that's so cool. And then eventually we go, why is that person so loud?
Yeah.
Why is that fire so hot? Is there and then you're like, what happened? You loved me, because you confront people with your enthusiasm and your success, and they get jealous. And you're like, wait, what did I do? I just encouraged you to be you. Don't be mad at me.
Which is also part of the fear, right? Like of being too much, of like not wanting people to feel that way.
Exactly. And you and I have the same life lesson. I'm born 30 years later than you. Every 30 years, Saturn is the most important planet in my system. Saturn tells us what you came to learn, and yours is in fire and mine is in fire. And so the courage to be seen, the courage to disrupt, the courage for people to not like took me, oh, I think last week I finally figured it out.
Just last week.
Well, I'm just kidding. I'm just realizing that. I mean, it sounds funny, but it's taken me years and years. This is the gift of aging is, I'm headed towards 70. It's so hard to believe. And what happens when you spend a lot of time on planet Earth is you get less and less attached to what you thought it was supposed to be here. And you start to accept that this place is just messy and it can be very mean. And I am the healing agent. I'm the one that brings what I imagined it was going to be, because it's clearly not what I thought it was. And as a result, I inspire people. I have a course called Tell Me a Story. And in fact, today, it's so interesting. I'm doing every month I do it. There's 10 people in a room. It's the only thing that I do that people can get me directly. It's tmas.co. It's the website. Tell Me a Story is a class where we use the elements, and I give people a prompt each class to write, and then they read it out loud. And it's the most intimate, therapeutic, powerful, unbelievable tool. And it's so much fun for me because I get to turn on their observer. Like, you tell your horrible story, and then I say, okay, observer on. What was your soul thinking when it gave you that assignment? And then all of a sudden, the most horrible of situations becomes the grist for the mill, like the polish, like that's just what life does. It's somehow, I wish they would have told us this place is really mean. It's really hard. And if you get on top of the wave, you can surf this thing and be in heaven.
I felt that. Thank you. Wow. I love that you incorporate the deeper healing work with the astrology, because it's like one thing to understand your chart and it's another thing to really do the work inside of it.
Bingo. See, that's so one of your gifts in your chart is you're very deep. Like, that's because you have no air. So like, if this isn't real, you're a person that goes, you sniff. And then if someone's real, you're like, come with me.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think it's so important. Like, that's why we're here, right? To get those learnings and lessons. So I'm curious, and I don't know if you have the answer, but like, do you think the charts have anything to do with reincarnation? Like, are they, speaking of deep, like, do you take the chart with you, or
no, you don't
matter in your next life?
But you take, yes. So there's something in astrology called the North Node, and it describes I call it the shortcut to enlightenment. I made it up. The South Node is past lives. So it's always opposite. So the shortcut to enlightenment is to go this way. And the South Node, or your past lives, is what you really got good at going this way. So you want to let that go, but we tend to lean into what we're really good at. So it's a really powerful question. And yes, reincarnation is included in astrology. And it's a hard concept because it's a little abstract. People don't believe in it. You listen to this. You're going to love this. Your past life describes someone who was very, very detailed. And this lifetime you said, you know what, can I just be a little bit woo-woo, which is not easy for you because you're Capricorn, but that's what you promised.
Interesting. That is so cool.
I know. And that's the third class in the astrology class. And everyone lights up like a Christmas tree during the third class. When you get the shortcut to enlightenment and you realize, like in your case, you're allowed to go a little bit off track, even though your past life, you were like, that's why you're having such good karma this lifetime. You did a lot of work in a past life where you were very, very responsible. In this life, they said, we're giving her fun, extra dose of fun, extra dose of love. Kids are going to fall in love with her.
That's so awesome. That feels true. That feels
it's
very
true. It's true. I just speak truth.
Question about, okay, so when you are helping, now you're hot, now your fire is coming out. You're like, I'm taking my sweater off. This red sweater is hot right now.
It's so funny.
So you know how, like, with a psychic reading, right? Just like not astrology, a psychic reading, I believe that like whatever they're picking up on, it can be realized or it can't be realized. Like, they're picking up on energy, and it doesn't mean it's 100% accurate. It's just the energy of the moment. And so I'm curious about astrology. Like if your chart says you're going to be wealthy does that mean you're 100% going to realize that in your life?
Well, I think the very single thing is everyone can totally fall asleep in the middle of the movie. You can fall asleep and miss your life. So if you're willing to do the hard work, which is what your chart is built for hard work, you like to work, you like to go deep, then you're not going to miss your life. But if you're someone who is got an addiction, or you're lazy, or you don't feel inspired, or you got your heart broken and you lived right there, you just camped out at that heartbreak, oopsie, there goes that opportunity. That's real.
Yeah. So
we all know people where you're like that little girl who's the surf girl. She became famous. I saw how hard she worked. She could have easily, her family had money. She didn't have to do all that, but she never stopped. She's fire.
Wow. Okay. That's beautiful. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like, yeah, you got to show up.
You have to give it all you've got. This is so silly. Why would we be alive?
Yeah.
I don't, you and me, two little fire girls. Why would we be alive if we didn't have the passion to live a life? Like, are we going to sleep through this movie? Not when you're Ashley or Debra. We can't sleep. We're like, I'm so excited. The sun came up. And then people say, can you tone it down? And I'm like, no.
That's why pregnancy is so interesting, because I'm so freaking tired and I'm like, guess I'm going to sleep. Like,
you know, my theory about being tired when you're pregnant is that they're trying to put the furniture up inside the room. So they need you to lie down so they can get the pictures up. That first trimester, they're like, would you just lie down? We've got to get this thing going, and you keep moving. And then once that's over, but you must respect the body. I mean, if there's anything I learned being pregnant was honor. And I loved listening, because I just think it's the most holy. I mean, you think about it more than a minute. Like, first of all, how'd that thing get in there? Oh,
I know how I got in there.
You tried really hard. That's one. Then number two, what is happening right now? Oh, I'm making a brain. Really? They're taking my calcium out of my bones? Wait, did I eat enough calcium? Because now we got two people here eating.
I know. It's like, it's the ultimate gift of receiving. And now I'm so excited. Like, I know it's too early to get my child's chart, but when that birth time comes,
oh my God. Can you imagine
Debra
what I was like? I was giving birth staring at the clock. They were like, you can't believe I had everyone trained in the room. Like, that's what you're looking at.
I need that exact minute.
And then I was literally because I did it at home in the water, and I was literally, give me the computer. And then they were like, no, we're not giving you. I was like, okay, I'm going to tell you how to get, I wanted to know immediately, what is that baby's rising sign?
Yeah.
That was so fun.
That is so cool. So I'm curious if, like, is there anything else in my chart that like stands out to you that would be worth sharing?
Yes, you're an old soul. What stands out in your chart is you were born with Saturn. So remember I said Jupiter was standing right next to the moon, like it was literally holding hands. It's only it's that degree, like you really had a conjunction between that big fat Jupiter going, I love the moon, sitting right on your moon. So that explains your love for the moon. You also had at the horizon, at the moment of your birth, Saturn was sitting right on the horizon, which tells us that you were old when you're young and you'll be young when you're old.
Oh my God. Whoa. That literally is true.
Okay, everything I've said is true, but that one really hit you.
That really hit me. Yeah, because I just gave a speech like last week. And in my speech, I was talking about like how when I was younger, I had to take care of my mom. She has Crohn's disease. She had pain medicine addiction, and I had to grow up really, really fast. Well, I was the mom, like 10, 11, 12. I was like, I'm grown up.
Yes. And that's the opposite. When you get older, you're going to get younger.
Hopefully in a good way.
In a really good way, where you're less responsible and you're finally having fun.
Yeah. I already feel like it's happening.
At the sweet age of how old?
34.
The cutest thing.
34.
I remember.
Yep. So, okay, we're going to wrap up soon, but I just want to paint a picture for everyone listening. Like, if you've never done astrology, there's how many houses? There's 12 houses, right?
The cutest thing. How many houses? There's 11. No, there's 12.
Okay, I
No,
was
no, no, no,
right.
no. Of course, there's 12. There's exactly the same amount of signs. It's very easy astrology.
Oh,
There's 12 houses, there's 12 signs, and there's 10 planets. And that's all. And when you learn that you put in the kitchen, you put a planet in the blender, you put a sign in the blender, you put a house in the blender, you mix it all up. So it's very simple the way I teach it. Like I teach you the planets, I teach you the signs, I teach you the houses. And there's some funny videos. You would love them on YouTube. If you go on
yeah.
YouTube and you put in Debra Silverman Capricorn, a 5-minute video is going to come on. It's had 7 million views. That's how you'll know, because there's a set of 12 of them. They've each had between 2 to 400,000 hits. And when you watch them, you're going to watch 5 minutes of Capricorn. Then you're going to watch Sag, because that's your rising sign. And then you're going to watch Aries. Just put Debra Silverman Aries, and you are going to laugh so hard when you get to Sag. It's my favorite one. I shouldn't say.
Okay, wait. I want to write this down. I'm Capricorn. I'm Sag rising.
And Moon and Aries.
Moon,
You
Aries.
could always listen to this podcast again.
I know. Why can't I ever remember this? That's not the first time I've been told those
But
things.
because you haven't got it to stick yet. Your Mercury's conjunct Neptune. You're a little dreamy girl. But when it finally lands and it becomes meaningful, you'll never forget it.
Okay. I love that. Oh my gosh. And your metaphors are so great. Do you know that you speak in metaphors?
I speak in metaphors like this, the blender.
Yeah, the blender's a metaphor. The whole time. And it's really powerful because I teach coaches how to coach. Like I have a coaching certification. And so like, this is a great compliment to what I teach. Like
I'm telling you how many coaches have taken my school.
Yeah, no, it's a great.
A client comes in presenting their issue and you say, excuse me, you have no earth in your chart. You have got to write this shit down and you got to make a schedule and I'm going to hold you. See, a coach knows how to support that person based on their individuality.
Totally. That makes sense. What I was going to say is that in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, we teach metaphors. And so metaphors are a really powerful way to speak to the subconscious mind, which is probably why you're so successful. I'm going to give you a little reading now because you know how to speak to the subconscious mind of the people that are listening to you. And so when you can really speak to that, people resonate. Like that's how we learn. We learn through symbols.
Okay. So what will you remember at the end of the session today?
I'm going to remember the blender for sure. I've never heard it described that way. That makes sense because when I look at okay. And I'm just going to remember the energy that we shared. I feel like I know you. I feel like we have deep rapport.
What about the fire, sister? If you don't remember
I'm going to remember the fire. Yeah. I'm fiery AF.
At the Sagittarius rising. They love to swear. They have truck drivers problems.
Yeah, I got to work on that for the kids.
No. Don't work on it. That's your function, is to shock us, is to say blunt things, is to swear. We all go like her. That's what, no. The thing about astrology is you only enhance by learning the thing that's missing, but you do not take away your natural rhythm and weird quirks because of normal. Who made up normal anyways? Why are swear words bad?
Yeah, why are they bad?
You got me. I mean, I'm not one to use them too much, but I certainly love those people that my friends that just say the F-bomb, like drop, 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 drop. I'm like, I love that about you.
It's really in my nature. It really is.
It's all over your chart. You can't help it. You have to.
Wow. So cool. Oh my God. So good. Okay. So I have to ask you, what makes Debra a badass manifester?
I am a very, very consistent. I'm one of those people that does the same thing over and over and over and over again, eats the same food over and over and over again, does the same class over and over again. So I am very reliable. And when I have a dream, no matter how far away it is, I never give up. So this thing with Tell Me a Story, just yesterday, I won't go into detail, but a dream came true yesterday. And I was like, how did I manifest? I call it Womanfest. How did I Womanfest this? Like, what did I do to finally have that phone call without me having to go after it? I wasn't like the Capricorn goal oriented. You have a very strong male who like aims at things. My Womanfestation style is to be very strong in prayer and constantly in service, and then watch when life says, Deb, we're going to give this to you. And so I don't do the normal, because you're very male. Your chart is like, I got a goal. I'm gonna, my chart's like, I have a dream and I can see it. And I sure hope someone helps me. And then sure enough, I got the phone call yesterday of this dream coming. I hung up the phone and I was like, did that even just happen? So I'm obviously going to be writing another book.
Ooh.
It's kind of like being pregnant. I found out yesterday that they're really interested. So,
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Congratulations.
so my womanfestation, I like to call it, because what's manifestation for women? My womanfestation is never, ever doubting, like really holding the possibility. I love what your sweatshirt says. I'm in love with my future. That's so you.
Yeah.
And that's so me. And so the style of creation is different for everyone, said the astrologer. And my style is, I just always assume it will come true. And it does.
I so feel you on that. Yeah.
And
what do we
maybe,
have to lose? What do we have to lose, right?
and maybe it's because we're both optimists. That's our life lesson. Maybe it's because we think positive, but my kids always say, let mom drive because she always gets the parking spot. I just assume it's going to be there. I would never, I just drive right up to the front and then the guy's pulling out.
Yep. Yeah.
It's some work. And that's what level 1 does in our school. You realize that your observer, your mind, if it's not neutral and it leans towards negative, you're going to get yourself in a pickle. So I just stay really still. I meditate, I pray, I do yoga almost every day.
Well, you're opening up your channel to receive.
And I'm very devoted. I know that this life is for one reason only, and that is to evolve the species. And I am very busy evolving my single street where I live. I just do everything I can to stay in the spirit of generosity and kindness. And then, shit happens. And then I just go right back to kindness again.
Yeah. And doing the work. So powerful. So powerful. I love that. It's like staying on our street, in our lane, doing our work of evolving the human species. So powerful.
I love that so much. That's all I do every day.
Yeah.
And then as the years go by, you guys, here's a secret. I'm going to tell you a secret. It gets so much better as you get older. Who knew? Why didn't they tell me that? I wish they would have told me you're going to love being in your 60s. You're going to love heading towards your 70s. Like, it just sounds old.
No, it doesn't to me.
Because you were old already. You're going backwards.
It sounds fun. Sounds fun. Yeah. One of my teachers, she's in her 70s and she's my network chiropractor. We do this work every week together in person. And she's like, I'm in my mastery. Like, I'm the crone. Like, yeah, like she just owns it. And she has like grayish, whitish hair, but she'll have like pink and blue. And she's just like, I'm here. Like, she's arrived.
I love her.
Yeah. And yeah, you remind me of her in that way of just like embracing.
I know. And at this point, after 45 years of being an astrologer, I can look at a chart and definitely assess very quickly what God had in mind when she made you.
Cool. What did God have in mind with me?
They were like, we're going to give her hard lessons right at the beginning. Then we're going to give her a real love of her life. And then we're going to give her this child and or children that's going to show her a wonderful lifetime of really being happy. That's not easy. Being happy has a whole bunch of sidebars. Like, people get mad at people who are happy. They get mad at me, but I don't care anymore.
Yeah. We don't have time for that. Literally.
It's too much fun. I'm so excited. I got the next thing onto my plate is I get to do Tell Me a Story today. So
oh my God. That's
my favorite thing to do. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, okay. Where can everyone find you? All of the links are in the show notes, but go follow Debra on Instagram.
Every day there's a free video. Have you watched them yet? Every single day I put out a free video of where the moon is. Okay,
cool. So does that give us like a little energy update?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Every single day you can feel where the moon is and what the weather report is from the cosmos. Every day there's our free videos on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Astrology Answers. There's all in Yoga Girl. She has my videos. People pay me to borrow those videos.
I love Yoga Girl.
So she's cool. A chart like yours. She's Sag rising with Saturn on the ascendant. She's born the same year as you.
Wow.
Yeah. And look at how out there she is, just like you. The craziest thing that she's also Sag rising with Saturn on the ascendant, like you. She was old when she was young. She had to take care of her mom. Think about it.
Wow, I always felt very drawn to her. That's
And,
crazy.
and I'm on her membership site. She uses my videos every day.
That's so cool. Oh my God. Amazing. So many synchronicities. This was such a good conversation. Thank you so much for sharing. What is the school called?
Applied astrology.
Applied
As
Astrology.
we apply, it's not like you hate the theory. It's really literally changes people's lives. So, and by the way, podcast interviewers get 50% off. So if you wanted to take the class in September, you would just write to the person that set this up and we would just slide you right in.
Cool. That's so nice. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing for the community. Look how many people you're touching.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So
Good.
cool. It was an honor to talk to you. So much fun hanging out with you. I just feel like
I know
you.
we do. We both have Moon in Aries and Saturn and Sag. As soon as I saw your chart, I was like, this is a no-brainer. And sometimes the interviews are like,
oh, I know. I try not to be like that.
no, you are not. You are as far away. That's hysterical. And I have to report to my team how the interview went. You're getting a very high score.
Oh, yay. I'm so glad. Maybe you'll come back one day.
You ask me anytime, sweetie. I really like you. Besides, I'm in love with my future too. I'll probably see you there.
Okay, perfect. Sounds like a plan. Well, congrats on all the beautiful things happening in your
Congrats
world.
on you and that thing inside your tummy.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. And everyone go follow Debra. She's awesome. All right, everyone. If you have any questions, message us. Like, let us know what your favorite part was about this episode. Tag us on Instagram and have a great day. Woo! We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at Manifest with Ash. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get 'em.